and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, we'd like to talk about JIN's The Astronaut, focusing on a little breakdown and analysis of the lyrics and the music video to see what they can tell us about the concept and story of JIN's solo debut. The Astronaut is a song co-written and co-composed by JIN and Coldplay that expresses JIN's love and appreciation for ARMY in anticipation of his enlistment. In this touching tribute, JIN pays homage to the beautiful relationship between him, BTS and ARMY, and as he explained himself, he decided to express his feelings with simple lyrics that are as direct as they are sincere. The Astronaut is a song that talks about the never-ending story of us, that is the story of how ARMY became JIN's universe as he drifted in the darkness without a destination. Your arrival in his life shone a light that gave him a direction, so in his journey to become your dream, JIN discovered the existence of a pure and eternal love that made him feel like he got heaven to himself. This is a gift that you gave him through your light, love and support, so the Astronaut is a thank you to the people that loved him, because finding you was like finding a way home. Now in the lyrics, this beautiful message is also highlighted by some references to My Universe, Abyss, We Are Bulletproof, The Eternal, and Microcosmos, all of which share similar imagery to those that we find in the song. Like in My Universe, for instance, in The Astronaut, JIN compares ARMY to his universe to express his love and appreciation. Like in Abyss, he compares his feelings of loneliness to him drifting in the darkness, and like in The Eternal, your presence makes him feel like having heaven to himself. Back in that song, BTS compared achieving their dream to getting to heaven, which was described as a place where they weren't alone anymore because they had you by their side. The Astronaut draws the very same parallel here, because after becoming your dream and realizing his, JIN feels like he's in heaven for the sole reason that he's with you. Much like in The Eternal, the story between him and ARMY is described as never-ending, and much like in that song, the darkness and loneliness that BTS felt at the beginning is now replaced by the light of ARMY that shines bright within their universe. This concept was also the central theme of Microcosmos, with the only difference being that in that song the universe they were talking about was the little one that all of us have inside of ourselves. Just like in the little universe of ARMY, BTS are a light that brightens their darkness, ARMY are the light of BTS's. This beautiful connection is achieved through the power of music, which, as it turns out, was also the main message of Coldplay's Music of the Spheres. Their album was about celebrating the universality of music and its ability to bring harmony among people, and in many respects, The Astronaut is yet another testament to that, because it's thanks to music that JIN was able to connect with you and get to his personal heaven. As JIN himself has explained, The Astronaut tells the story of how you made him into the man that he is today. He was an astronaut floating aimlessly through life, when all of a sudden you found him and made him the JIN of BTS. You gave him a direction, you gave him a purpose, and you gave him that light that allowed him to shine everywhere. Most of all, however, you gave him a place to always come back to, and in the video this concept is expressed with the touching story of an alien on his quest to find his way home. According to JIN's explanation of the video, in the story he plays the role of an astronaut who landed on Earth and decided to settle down to stay with his loved ones, which in this context are none other than ARMY themselves. This, however, is just the general premise of the story, because once we dive a bit deeper into the video, there are a lot of hidden clues that actually explain what's going on. At the beginning, for instance, the video opens with a shot of a spaceship that just crashed on Earth. As the UFO gets engulfed by the flames, we spot JIN looking at the scene from far away, so right off the bat we get the sense that the astronaut just arrived and his ship got seemingly destroyed in the process. In the next scene we cut to some time later, where JIN has now settled down and is doing a crossword puzzle in his bedroom. On the wall we can see some drawings that clue us in on JIN's origins and journey so far. In the first drawing, for instance, we see the astronaut before leaving. We can see the Earth at a distance, we can see the sun, and JIN standing in the middle on a separate surface, which could actually imply that the astronaut might have come from the moon. This would be a very nice tie to JIN's previous solo, because back in that song, JIN was the moon, ARMY was Earth, and ARMY's light was represented by the sun that made him shine from far away. In the drawing, we can also see that he's wearing the same suit that he wore when he landed, and if you look closely, we can notice that he's actually surrounded by fish, which might be a reference to Super Tuna. In the other two drawings, on the other hand, we discover some more about the events that took place after the crash. In the second illustration, we see the astronaut befriending a family, and in the third, we discover that the little girl will become JIN's best friend. That is the same child that we later meet outside of the house, and in this context, she's obviously playing the role of ARMY, who throughout BTS's videos is often represented as a little girl that is always by their side. Through the drawings, we get the sense that the ARMY family literally took him in and gave him a home. Even if JIN is out of this world, world, Army gave him a place where he could be comfortable to be himself, which is also why his bedroom is full of details reminding him of space. If you look closely, however, we can also see a lot of Easter eggs related to real life, because in the background we can spot several posters of Coldplay, the music video poster on My Universe, as well as the vinyl of the song. On the other side instead, we can spot the guitar that Chris Martin gave JIN when they first met, so it's safe to say that in this universe the astronaut is a Coldplay fan. While JIN is chilling in his room, on the TV we can see Chris Martin doing a cameo as a news anchor. The breaking news announced that a mysterious beam of light was spotted in the sky, and when JIN looks outside of his window and sees it with his own eyes, he immediately understands that that light is actually meant for him. Without any hesitation, he gets dressed, puts his helmet on, and leaves without looking back. As the magazine foreshadows, the light was a sign that it's time for the astronaut to leave, because on the page we can see a rocket going once more to the moon. This is yet another clue that the alien does indeed come from there, but on a metaphorical level, the alien leaving might also be compared to JIN having to go to the military. This comparison is also reinforced by the other title that we read on the page, which actually reassures us that the planet is coming back soon. Since at the time of release the enlistment is very close, the video shows us him leaving, while at the same time implying that he will come back sooner than we think. The reason why it's compared to a planet, moreover, might have something to do with Coldplay's lore, because in the solar system of the spheres there is a blue planet called Aurora that doesn't correspond to any existing sun. Aurora is like a lost planet, if you will, but in the concept photos, JIN was actually standing in front of a sphere that looks very much like it. This might imply that the video is kind of drawing a comparison between JIN and Aurora, thus foreshadowing that we shouldn't worry because they will show back up very soon. Back in the story, however, we go to the stage where it's time to say our goodbyes, because when JIN gets out of the house, he bids farewell to little Army. Since it's time for him to go back to his cosmic home, he gives her his helmet so she can ride safely, and then looks back at the house that welcomed him when he first landed. Even if JIN will miss that place, he knows that leaving is the right thing to do, so in the very next scene we see him running down the street in order to get to his destination. When he gets to town, however, even the environment itself starts telling him that he's making a mistake. We see a lot of signs hinting him to stop, and the passers-by get in the way to keep him from leaving. In a very cool Easter egg, we also see a florist that recalls the Smeraldo flower shop of the Bangtan universe, and soon after JIN meets an astronaut that seemingly reminds him of where he's headed. As he rides towards his destination, however, that simple action reminds him of the time that he taught little Army to ride on her own, and this memory alone makes it very painful for him to leave. This regret becomes even stronger where JIN eventually gets to the ship, which at this point is revealed to be the source of the light beam. Even if it's really time to go, the happy memories that he made with Army prevent him from leaving, because his time on Earth changed him more than one could think. When we take a look at JIN's little universe, for instance, his microcosmos is all purple. Army literally became his universe, so he doesn't need to go home because he was already there all along. In the video, little Army draws him a picture of the two of them on Earth having fun together in front of the house. In Army's eyes, that is home, and when he remembers that drawing, JIN finally realizes that it's the same for him as well. As the UFO takes off, the astronaut suddenly turns around and leaves. He doesn't need that ship to go home because his home is not in space anymore. His home is with his newly found family, so he hitchhikes back as he enjoys the view of his new home planet. In this scene, we see that he gets a ride from a man on a truck, and this vehicle heavily recalls JIN's truck in the Bangtan universe. On top of that, on his neck we can see that he has a braille tattoo, and that tattoo actually spells the word Army. At the end of the video, JIN is back home, this time for good. He continues his puzzle, and we can actually read the key words that truly define this story. We can read Army, star, astronaut, cozy, moon, and last but not least he writes family, which is what BTS and Army are for him. You see, in many respects, the astronaut can almost be seen as an unofficial sequel to Moon, not so much in terms of lyrics but in terms of concept. Back in that song, JIN's performance was inspired by the Little Prince, who is an alien coming from outer space who befriends an aviator before going back home to his Rose. In The Astronaut, JIN almost provides an alternative ending to that story, because in this instance the Little Prince decides to stay. After all, when he's with Army, Jin feels like heaven coming through, so there is no better place for him to be. He might have to leave for a while, but he will always come back, and when he does, Army will be there because a home never moves. While we wait, we have the astronaut to keep us company, but in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please think about liking and subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.